Russia's president is using bold language tonight, calling for potential statehood for the rebels in eastern Ukraine. The Kremlin is quick to say Vladimir Putin is not calling for sovereignty. But as Mike Armstrong reports, Putin's public musings are empowering the separatist movement and adding uncertainty to a country on the brink of an all-out war.
It's difficult to imagine Vladimir Putin didn't know the language he was using could ratchet up the tension even further. Speaking to a Russian TV network, Putin urged Ukraine to hold talks not about technical issues, he says, but about the question of political organization of society and statehood in the southeast Ukraine. Now, Putin has already been referring to regions in eastern Ukraine as Novorossiya, or New Russia. Using the term statehood is in line with that thinking. But a spokesperson is trying to calm the rhetoric today, saying Putin didn't mean independence, only more autonomy inside Ukraine for the regions. On the ground in eastern Ukraine, there appears to be a big difference between what Putin says and what Russia does. According to NATO, about 1,000 Russian soldiers are in Ukraine, bolstering rebel forces, in fact turning the tide in some cases. In recent days, the Ukrainian military has had to give up ground it had taken, but Russia still insists there is no invasion underway, and any Russian soldiers fighting in Ukraine are only volunteers. Well, some of those alleged volunteers were handed back overnight. 9 Russian paratroopers were sent home, exchanged for 63 Ukrainian troops. The Russians were captured in Ukraine, but claimed to have been lost. The negotiations were far from easy, says this Russian general, but thank God common sense prevailed. Our boys are back with us on our territory.
There can be no military solution to this crisis.
There were strong words from the European Union today. It's preparing new economic sanctions against Russia, saying Putin talks about political dialogue and resolution, but does the opposite.
If Russia continues to escalate the crisis, it will come with high cost.
Well, no one is paying a higher cost right now than civilians caught in the middle. This is video from a pro-Russian separatist TV station showing damage from shelling this weekend in Donetsk. But south of the city has been relatively quiet in recent months. In fact, thousands fleeing conflict in Donetsk had moved to what had been safer territory. With the separatist offensive moving west, aided by Russian forces, there is now speculation they will push towards the recently annexed Crimean Peninsula. It would give Russia a land bridge to the territory. In what could be an ominous sign, there are reports from at least one rebel-controlled town along that line that leaflets are being distributed telling people to prepare for Russian peacekeeping forces. Mike Armstrong, Global News.